dream, the road kept going after the map ended. Just gravel turning into black water. You were walking ahead, but every time I called your name, the sound bent wrong came back as someone else's voice asking, why are you still missing?
Hi, everybody. I hope that you guys are doing very well. I did put up a post, I think it was this morning, that my daughter had her twins and that everybody is, it was relatively early. And so the twins are in the NICU and they'll probably be there, 3, 4 weeks, something like that. My daughter is very healthy and everybody is doing well, other than it's just sort of, a, a stressful kind of thing. But everything is going well and everybody's getting strong. Okay. So, I'm here to talk just for a few minutes. I won't be here very long. And I'm going to be talking about number one, about a situation that Sheriff Nanos is involved in. He is the sheriff of Pima County. He's been overseeing the search for the missing Nancy Guthrie. And there's a couple of really key developments concerning him that I think are kind of eye raising. And then again, kind of not when you factor in the politics of it. So you do have to take that into consideration. And then, I have, just I guess, an inconvenient fact that really can't be disputed. And it doesn't seem to have gotten any attention. And I'm curious about why maybe that is. So let me start out by saying this. There's a lot of people that are very, very angry with Sheriff Nanos. He immediately started this adversarial relationship with the FBI. And the reality is that he doesn't have the experience or the background to, by comparison to the FBI agents, for dealing with a missing person, especially a missing person that would be considered like a high net worth individual, or someone who had family members that were quite famous, and in addition to being famous, but also being very, very wealthy. So, we don't know what what her actual dollar sign worth was, but I mean, her house was quite beautiful. Her kids were all very successful, and one would assume that if you were of the criminal element, you might believe that this woman was valued and loved by her children. And if you could get some ransom from this high net worth daughter and son-in-law, right? So the case automatically was complicated, in my opinion, was complicated from the very start, that you've got an additional layer that doesn't really exist with the majority of, hey, we got someone missing. We've got an aged person missing. We've got a kid that's gone missing. You're usually looking at all the usual suspects, right? Is it a boyfriend? Is it the wife or the husband? Did your child have new friends that they were hanging out with? So, so usually you start inward and work your way out. And Nanos, look, he just doesn't appear to know what he's doing. It in the truthfully, there was quite a big show made about him going to the basketball game in the initial days of the investigation. He he retained ultimate power, like in the like remember in the 80s, the kids, you have ultimate power. Um, he retained ultimate power. He kept information and secrets from the FBI when it is actually, in fact, the FBI that is, they are experienced, they are trained, they have technology for something like this that has additional layers of complication, right? And in those investigations, they tend to work out and move in toward the crime scene as opposed to the opposite, because you got these tentacles that reach out to these high net worth people or famous people. So he just, Nanos seemed actually to be obstructionist in some weeks of the investigation. And I kept thinking, it's almost like he's part of the hiding, right? He's part of the covering up. I don't think that's true. I think he's got some personality issues that he thought, well, there's not going to be any FBI coming in here telling me how to do my job. This is my land here. They can't come into my territory. I'm the sheriff in this here hills. He just seemed like he had that kind of childish teenager-esque hubris and was very foolish. And maybe he was having daydreams of grandeur. I mean, look, local law enforcement there, FBI agents that have had to try to deal with him in the past, they themselves said he definitely has a little man syndrome. He has sore armpits. He walks around like he's Billy Badass, and he's kind of like an angry little tiny little yappy dog. And when it comes down to the rubber hitting the road, he just does not have the skill set. He doesn't know how to do it. It's all just braggadocious. It's just words, right? And indeed, his behavior ultimately over the past month and a half or so has certainly been like definitely right in line with that description by people, law enforcement people that know him, that have tried to work with him in the past, where there was even a lawsuit. So he has quite a colorful history that comes before him, and none of that history involves Sheriff Nanos the Great. Sheriff Nanos, the great crime fighting machine. None of them. It all of the color, all of the history with this guy, he just appears to be very incompetent. Okay? Just it's really frightening and depressing. Because when an old person goes missing in the middle of the night, you want the response to be one that is planned and measured and competent. And it was exactly the FBI that was able to do that. So it's a real problem. Now, Sheriff Nanos has attracted some, what I could only guess is probably unwanted attention. He's probably not happy about this guy, but in order to reduce the arguing about politics, I'm not going to talk about who the guy is, other than he is, in fact, a politician. Okay. So Nanos has attracted this politician who is running for office. And he has been watching. This is a local politician, this somebody from the area. Um, and he has been watching what has been unfolding, the various the investigators returning to the crime scene 4 different times. Great, wild. It is wild. Okay. The couple, 2, 3 SWAT missions that simply resulted in harassment of citizens with apparently no good reason to be harassing those citizens. I mean, they even kicked in a door during one of the SWAT raids. So this looks terrible. This is terrible. Okay. Now then, another thing that really got under the skin of this particular politician is the serious delay for sending out the search and rescue aircraft. They're literally in the desert. Yeah, there's houses, but they're very far away from each other. There's no fences anywhere. And if she had had just like a stroke, or she had had some sort of cognitive event and stumbled off, there's a big possibility she could have been out there in the middle of nowhere in the dead of night, dark, you can't see anything. And if they had gotten aircraft up in time, maybe they could have caught her. Maybe an opportunistic creep found her later and took her not from her home, but from the desert. So there's all kinds of complaints against Nanos. This particular politician has gone public and has enumerated his concern and where he knows that Nanos went wrong. And at this point now, we learn that the deputies themselves, the people that worked for Nanos, they, among themselves, quietly, they have wanted to have him recalled, have Nanos recalled. Nanos got them involved in like a reality TV series about cops or law enforcement. The more senior detectives and police officers were very unhappy with that little move. They were embarrassed. They felt like the whole situation was taking them away from their law enforcement duties. But again, consistent with Sheriff Nanos' possibly narcissistic tendencies. We don't know that he has narcissism, but people that know him well have said that he definitely has little man syndrome. They have really not trusted him in a very long time. There doesn't seem to be any of the sheriff's deputies that are standing in support of Nanos, other than 2 or 3 of the deputies that are sort of, that Nanos and these 2 or 3 agents have sort of formed their private little law enforcement club, and everybody else is sort of locked out, right? Even with the Nancy Guthrie disappearance, in the beginning weeks, Nanos was only telling those deputies that were closest to him what the game plan was and how to handle the situation. Nobody else on the force, on the sheriff's department, nobody else is said to have known. And so it was just highly inefficient, disorganized, no communication, and it has led to what we're now is being called by the ultimate disaster by a lot of uh, professional law enforcement from across the country. Um, one of the big things that stands out is that Google was able to recover ghost images from the Nest doorbell cam, and those are the ones of those chilling masked man that everyone has done so much time just studying and looking at and trying to understand. That was the FBI that drove that. Without the FBI, they wouldn't even have those photos. They wouldn't have the video clip of the guy walking up onto the porch. This was one of the weeks where I felt like Nanos was being obstructionist. That the cops came out, Google came out, they identified this little video clip where they were able to collect a wealth of information. They actually had enough information that they now had something to investigate, right? And it was during that time that Nanos began to say people were cleared. The people had been cleared of the crime. And a lot of us that are in the true crime community, we may not be a part of law enforcement. We may not be active attorneys, but we consume a lot of like live trial information. We watch the court TV or law and crime channels, and we kind of get a general idea about what this is supposed to look like. And with Nanos, we just didn't get that. His responses were upside down and backwards, right? It's like if the right thing to do was to go left, Sheriff Nanos would go right or up or down. Okay. So the Google images, that was a couple of weeks. It started a couple of weeks of Sheriff Nanos behaving in a really odd way. And that was one of the times that I literally began to doubt him personally, that he had any interest in solving the case. And then I had, a flashbulb moment, and I said, wait a minute. Yes, he does have a great deal of interest in solving the case because of his reality TV show involvement. I mean, what could make better television than you and your trusted two deputies, your little yes men, single-handedly saving Nancy Guthrie? Like, that would be great TV, wouldn't it? That'd be great reality TV. And I have been plagued by this thought, is that what happened? Is that initially the early decisions were, this is going to look really good on my TV show, so I don't really want the FBI to come in and steal our thunder. I want this reserved for Sheriff Nanos in case I have higher political aspirations, like becoming a senator or going to the U.S. Congress, perhaps, right? Well, it turns out that a guy who is, in fact, currently running for office of Congress, he has now officially begun the process of having Nanos recalled, aka firing his ass. So what's the process? What does the guy have to do, or what has he already begun doing? So the guy has already started to collect the required 120,000 signatures. So he's got to find 120,000 people in the county who are willing to say this guy needs to go. He either needs to resign and get the hell out of here, or we need to hold special recall election, one or the other. So, Sheriff, make it easy on yourself. We've got 150,000 signatures. You need to get gone. You need to get on down that road, right? Okay. So we know that this guy has begun to collect the 120,000 signatures, which is required. Now, an interesting little factoid is that 120,000 signatures is approximately a fourth, 25% of the total number of ballots that were cast in the 2024 Pima County Sheriff's election. So it's not a really high bar. You know what I mean? It it yes, he got a majority of the votes, but even if he got 75% of the votes, there's still 25% out there that would probably be willing to have him recalled, right? So if I was Sheriff Nanos, I would be feeling very nervous, and I would have all my people in the room going, what's happening? What are we going to do? How do we survive this? Okay. Now, the guy that is doing this, he has 120 days to collect the 120,000 signatures. Okay. And I honestly don't think he's going to have any trouble, given the fact that so many people are really unhappy about this investigation. They're really unhappy about the reality TV show. They're really unhappy about the failure to be cooperative with the FBI. They're really unhappy about basically opening up the crime scene within 24 hours of her going missing. Like, there's a lot of WTFs in this case. So the guy that's collecting this believes that he can easily get 135,000 signatures. That's based on local advisors in Pima County. They are believing that it's possible that they could get as many as 175 to 200,000. Look, if they're able to get as many as 200,000 votes to recall this guy, he shouldn't even try to do a recall election. Like, if he does, that would just be a guy that lacks self-awareness. That's unbeatable, right? If he comes up with this 125,000, then yeah, sure, he might possibly beat that. That's if everybody will show up for the election, and all that, he might. If nobody really, really cares about Nancy Guthrie, who at one time voted for Sheriff Nano and then decided, wow, he's really bungled this investigation, and that was my friend, and I don't want him around on the next one if some other person really, really needs his help. So again, this is a coming together of like multiple influences that is going to have, I think, is going to have disastrous effects for Sheriff Nanos. So yeah, I do think that the 120,000 signatures will be found. I think that if it's a low number, Nanos will try to fight it, and he'll push for the special recall election. But if it is a higher number, 175, 200, then I think that he'll go ahead and resign in the face of those types of odds, right? If the politician is able to get the 120,000, then he will have 2 months. He'll have 60 days to verify that the signatures he received were authentic against people on the voter registration records. So they're going to have to go through and compare they're going to have to go through and compare the 120,000 signatures with the voter cards and make sure that, yeah, this is an authentic signature. Once they've been verified as authentic, then Sheriff Nanos would have only 5 days to make a decision whether he would resign or he would push back and say, nope, we're going to do a special election. I believe I can win this. Okay. So that is the unwanted, what I think is unwanted attention that the sheriff has attracted. And it's the attraction, the guy that is doing this is someone who is running for Congress and unlikely to be strong armed or threatened or messed with. There a side narrative to all this political stuff. A side narrative is the number of sheriff deputies that have come out and acknowledged that they want him gone. His own department wants him gone. If that many of his own deputies are saying, get this clown out of here, what do you think the local community is thinking? Right? So there are 4 or 5 deputies and a couple of police officers that are actually working out of the FBI office, the local FBI office, and that special group, that they are all working together really, really, really well. So that is great. That is something to be very, very hopeful for, correct? So that is good. Okay. So lots of drama. And now here is, the additional, what do you call it? A curious reality. You call it an inconvenient fact, or do you say that this is evidence that Sheriff Nanos is an idiot, and that his incompetence has really done terrible damage to the investigation that might be irrecoverable? And even at this point, because of his handling of the crime scene, even at that point, even if you catch somebody, who's to say that an attorney can't get the evidence thrown out because of what Sheriff Nanos did? All right. Now, you know what you're looking at, right? Who knows what you're looking at? You're looking at what has been verified as Nancy Guthrie's blood right there at the front porch near the Ring camera. Correct? Yeah, it could have cost Nancy her life. 100%. Absolutely. It's actually catastrophic what they've done. But I want you to take a really close look and put in the chat, what are you actually seeing? Like when you look at this, what are you looking at? Well, this looks to be like the doormat, right? Where you wipe your feet off before you step in to the house, right? And then you've got this nice Mexican red clay tile that everybody wants, but it's way expensive. Got this beautiful tile work. You have what has already been verified as her blood drops. And what else do you see? And go ahead and type into the chat what you're seeing while I take a little drink of water. So, what you see is the, whoops, sorry about that. I don't know why I did that. What you see is some of the greenery that the would-be abductor, what we've been told is the potential abductor, right? This is part of what he pulled up out of the front bed and then walked back over to the Ring, the Nest camera, and put this greenery up in front of it. And most people are saying, well, he was trying to obstruct the camera. Why? The camera saw him. Why would he need to? Very weird. Look, weird. I'm sorry, but it is illogical. It just means nothing to me. It's very strange. So most of the blood drops as you start on the sidewalk and you follow them up, this is in the covered area, like right in front of the camera or the door. If you start on the sidewalk where the blood first starts and you follow it up and then onto the porch, they don't have anything on them. It's not like there was like a windstorm and it blew a bunch of dust and debris up and got into the blood. No. I mean, look at how many drops are there that they don't have anything on them. Okay. But you have two very distinct, that actually three, one's a little bit obscure, but two very, very distinct blood drops that have, one of them has a little white flower stuck in it. And the other one, it looks like maybe it's like a brown leaf or something that is stuck on it. So this is the one, the top one right in the center is the one that has the brown leaf. And then the white flower is down toward the left. And you can see the same white flowers that is on the greenery that the dude held up to the camera. Here's another white flower that's sort of off and loose on its own. So you've got a flower that's laying in the blood, and you have the brown leaf that's also laying in the blood. And then on this blood drop, which is kind of a thick looking blood drop, it looks like it's got a little bit of the brown or green, like tiny little leaf or something in it, but that is a lot less obscure. This one might be one of the white flowers that is turned pink with blood. Okay, might. I don't know. It looks to be. But there is no doubt that this one has the leaf in it, or I'm sorry, the flower. And this one has a brown leaf laying in it. Oh, look, there's one right here too that's got a little bit of the flower debris on it. So there's no doubt. And look, this is important. I think it's important. Apparently, Sheriff Nanos did not believe that it was important. But here's my question to you guys. How did the greenery get into the blood drops if the guy was breaking into the house? Do you see what I mean? Makes absolutely no sense. Wouldn't the greenery be laying on the ground, and then when she started bleeding, her drops would fall onto the white flowers or onto the greenery? In order for the flower to fall into the blood drop, the blood has to already be there. Blood has to already be there. It's staged. I don't think the blood was staged. I think the man at the damn camera is staged. What do you think? What do you think, Martin? Do you think it was the drip dropping of blood that was staged, or do you think the dude coming up to the camera, putting on his stupid little, was such a his behavior on that porch is just so stupid. It's just weird the way that he was acting. Who in the world? Look, I'm not a criminal. I don't even have a criminal mind, okay? If I needed to block a camera, why would I look around? Oh, duh. Let me look and see. Oh, look at those leafy, long, leggy vines with little flowers on them. Let me grab a handful of that and put it up in front of the camera, and that should block it. When all you needed to do was, like, I don't know, bring a washcloth with you and put the washcloth over the camera. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Some stems are under the blood and the flowers are on top of the blood. He did the camera thing too. Or look, Diane, if you had the spray hand sanitizer, because it's got a little bit of the gel in it, all you got to do is take that and spray it on the lens and wipe the lens, and you can't see nothing. It's out. It's gone. So help me understand something about this stupid sheriff. You're going to tell me that they're going to go up there where you got this old lady that has just poofed into thin air. I mean, she's literally poofed. And your biggest clue, like literally the biggest clue, is blood, fresh blood. You're going to tell me that as a professional law enforcement person, you're not going to secure that scene? You're not going to lock down that scene? You're not going to want to look all over the yard, front and back, to see if those drops of blood meant that she walked away? You're not going to bring your dogs out. You could bring cadaver dogs out and they would pick up that scent, and they would follow that scent until the place that it didn't lead anymore. With blood like that, a bloodhound could follow that blood scent on top of water. That's truth. This is a ruse. I have reached the point that I believe it is a ruse. That was a performance for the cameras. Now, why did they need, whomever this involves, why did they need a performance for the camera? Why? Why didn't the sheriff lock down the scene? Why did he have to keep going back over to Annie Guthrie's house over and over and over again, but didn't return to Nancy Guthrie's house? What? This is a curious reality. Nothing I've said here today is speculative. Nothing. If you want to say, oh, you're speculating, you're a terrible person, how awful for you to speculate. Okay, how did the flower get on top of the blood? Riddle me that. That's all I need to know. How did it end up there? Sheriff Nanos is the reason why Nancy hasn't been found. It's just the strangest, most curious investigation. I mean, it's a nightmare. It's heartbreaking what has happened to Nancy Guthrie, for certain. But the investigation is the real story. Is the plant stuff stuck? Yeah, I mean, it appears to be stuck in the blood, like it fell on fresh blood. The lower blood drop with the, looks like maybe it was a little bit of white flour, and it's got blood on top of that flour. I'm telling you, y'all, there was a story here, and that sheriff did not secure that scene for a reason. And the big question is, what could be all the reasons? Like, what could it be? I mean, we know that Mr. Fancy Pants, Sheriff Nanos, he certainly does seem to be interested in fame, doesn't he? Do you know a single law enforcement officer, like truly, do you know a single law enforcement officer who would say, "Oh, I want to be on a reality TV show. I want to be on a reality TV show. Pick me, pick me." That's not like the law enforcement people that I know. The law enforcement people that I know are serious people, right? They understand what they're doing is life and death. You to say, "Oh, look, they need law enforcement departments to be on a reality show. We should do that. That looks fun." You know what that is? That's a teenage girl. That's not a serious investigator who understands the difference between life and death. That's a child who's trying to get a little, screen time for themselves. So I don't know. I wish someone would talk more about this and the connection to the scene not being closed down. It's like it's like the sheriff wanted the scene to be defiled. It's like he wanted the scene to be inadmissible as evidence. He waited until the mystery pizza showed up and walked up to the door. And how do you get that much blood in the middle of a sidewalk and you're investigating and not one single footprint through the blood? Oh, because it was sprinkled, huh? There is something so crazy and curious about this investigation. It's hard to take any of the news seriously. Any of the news coming out about that. The other time I had this feeling was the Barrymore feud case with Linda Stanley. The first moment that I kind of went, "Ooh, this is not looking good," was when Linda Stanley showed up on Mike, whatever his last name is, and Chris McDonough on their podcast. And I was like, "What? Wait. How is this reality? You have finally arrested this creep, and you are now looking at a very important trial, and you are going on a podcast to talk about Starsky and Hutch. That's great. That is lovely. Yeah, man, that really inspired some confidence." And in the end, in the end, yeah, Mike King. Sorry about that. It's been a long couple of days. Yeah, Mike King, Chris McDonough, they did their podcast. Somebody had connections and knew Linda Stanley. I don't know which one of them was, but she came on, and they were just doing their job as podcasters. But she agreed. That was the problem, like that she agreed to do this. And then when she got on it, she literally did talk about the investigation. She literally did. And then went on and acted so stupid and silly about Starsky and Hutch and all the bullshit. So in that case, it turned out that it was exactly what some of us feared when we were watching that podcast. We said, "This is going to be a damn circus. This is going to be a disaster." We see the writing on the wall, and we hoped that wouldn't happen. And damn, that district attorney's office was well, I'm not going to use the word for it, but it was a mess. It was like children trying to stand up against bulldog defense attorneys. I'm telling you, Iris Eaton wiped the floor with all their asses. There wasn't a single one of them that was even close to being what Iris turned out to be. So that's what happens if you're incompetent and you're doing a job that requires actual skill, and you need to be smart and you need to know what you're doing. When you come up upon people that really do know, you are just made to look like a clown, a child. So when I look at this whole scene, the blood drops, the bumbling idiot staggering around on the front porch, ultimately deciding his secret weapon of doom was going to be a handful of weeds. When I watch that, and then I think about the fact that Sheriff Nanos did not lock down the crime scene, I said, did he do it on purpose? He didn't want the evidence to come in to a court. He didn't want the person to ever be found guilty. Why? I mean, if he was doing it because he didn't want the abductor to be found guilty, wouldn't he have to know who the abductor is? And the blood drops are incredibly strange, Martin. They're incredibly strange. You see the spray, which would suggest the first blow, right? That spray would be like wham, and then you get that high power blood spray, and the pressure after a few little spurts begins to die off because now you don't have as much blood in the veins. So you get that first blow, the spray comes out, or another way it could be coughing, right? If let's say there had been a stabbing or something and she was bleeding in her lungs, then coughing would have created the spray. Okay, I'm good with that. I'm fine. But the drops are pristine. The drops are all perfectly round. Well, they're not exactly perfectly round, but they've got pretty discrete edges. Why is there no like smudges? It doesn't, it looks wrong. They're dropped from a short height. Exactly. They don't hit and then spread out like fluid does. It's like they were placed, dot, 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 like an eyedropper almost even, right? I'm on blood thinners. My blood traps are more vicious. Oh, scrapes. My blood scrapes they scrape my arm on the door frame as they carried her out. Well, I don't know that scrapes, I don't think you get that type of blood drop from scrapes. There was a puncture or a cut, something like that. There are no tails. The body's not moving. Thank you, Cal. If you're bleeding and you're being rushed out of the house, the blood drops are going to show that action. They're going to show that movement. There's going to be a tail on them or a smudge on them. So I'm watching all this. I'm telling y'all, the flower, the leaf, the little kind of like pinkish looking part of a flower, I think it's all staged. I really think it is. I have sat around for a month trying to think of what would explain it otherwise. Nothing. The drops are intentional, I think. And the drops are before what we saw with the door cam. So my question is this: if she walks up to the door to go in and somebody whap hits her over the head, right? Or reaches up and cuts her throat. I hate to be so gory, but okay, so what if that happens? And then they carry her off real fast, right? And they know We have to go back for that camera. That camera saw us. It's there. It sees us. We got to go back and get it and remove it. We got to take that camera. We got to destroy it. We got to bury it. We got to do something with it. So maybe they take it and they shoot it or do something to it. Then they go in and they perform this little, I guess, placement of evidence, maybe? Here's another question. Why go through all the trouble with the Nest doorbell camera, the blood, and then you leave the back door open? Why do you do that? Like from a syringe, from an eyedropper, something is not right, correct? Like just looking at it, you can tell, wait, why is it just dripping like that? And it doesn't show that kind of, you know what it looks like? It looks like if you were to cut your hand, let's say you're cooking, you cut your finger really bad, and you maybe just stand there and hold your hand, and the blood is coming out and it's dripping right below where you're holding your hand, but you're not moving because you're like, okay, somebody get me a rag, somebody get me a Band-Aid. Right? It's very cool. It's very smooth. But we know there are blood spatter experts, and they can actually tell where a perpetrator was standing in a room based on the shape of the blood drops that are on the wall or on the floor. The movement of the blood drop changes the way it's shaped. This was someone just dripping. They were just standing there dripping. Or they take a couple steps and they drip. There was no movement in it. It is so weird, y'all. This is such weird evidence. And the crime scene was left wide open by, Lord Fauntleroy. It was left wide open so that if there is ever anybody that's ever caught, this can never come in as evidence. It's an abomination what Sheriff Nanos has done. Yeah, so Martin says when blood drips, it'll still spatter. He's making the argument that however that blood got there, it was coming from low to the ground, that the blood drops did not fall very far. Yeah, there is some spray, right? And you can get that same spray from the initial blow, depending on where it is in the body. You can get it if, let's say, there's like a puncture wound, or if you cough or sneeze. Yeah, for sure. It's the weirdest. I'm telling y'all, there's something overtly strange about what he did. That you have this rich field of evidence and you don't lock down the house where the crime scene occurred. You don't lock it down. For what? 2 days, I think, 3 days. You let reporters literally walk up into this field of blood and take videos, and you're looking at Exhibit A. That, in fact, is Brian Enton's video right there. You had a pizza dude show up to deliver pizza to someone. Nobody ever knew who ordered the pizza. So it was not only defiled as a crime scene, it was recorded that it was defiled. You will never get this into a court of law as evidence. It'll never come in. I think there is bullshit afoot. And I don't know who's responsible for it. But I think the guy, right, Cinnamon, they say, oh, it was JLR's subscriber from Oregon. Okay, I know. I've heard that. However, how many times has JLR been mentioned on the news? in connection to Nancy Guthrie's disappearance many times. Megyn Kelly talked about JLR's coverage on her podcast covering the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. His name was used over and over and over again. Okay. What if whoever it was that ordered the pizza and said, go to that house and deliver it? Look, the pizza people had no idea what was going on. They didn't know that there was an old lady missing from that house. He just shows up and goes, well, this is the location. I don't know what's going on here. Went up to try to deliver it. And that was the thing that finally made Nanos shut the scene down, right? Then it came out afterwards. Oh, it's okay. We know who ordered the pizza. It was JLR. JLR, the wicked podcaster of the West, the horrible man of all history. He's the one that did it. Bullshit. He didn't do it. He stays on camera rolling constantly. Constantly. I think he was used. I think when people said, wait a minute, nobody ordered pizza. Nobody here ordered pizza. Nobody wants the damn pizza. Where did it come from? And then magically somebody says, oh, I am a subscriber of JLR. I'm the one that did it. After the fact. Really? Is that who you are? Are you the son of a bitch that failed to lock down a crime scene? Are you the son of a bitch that didn't want this blood coming into evidence in a trial, and that pizza delivery dude was your magic ticket to keeping it out as evidence in a trial? Oh yeah, I'm totally side-eyeing the whole pizza story. 100%. So I can't picture. No, hell no, JLR. No. Look, JLR catches a lot of negative stuff. Sure, he made a lot of this. He did a lot of strange things back in the day, and he served his time. He served his time. He did what the state and the government asked him to do to make amends. Okay. And he hasn't broken the law since. And more importantly, he's gone to not only live according to the rule of law, since he served his time, paid his dues to society. Not only has he lived within the course of the law, he's also taken a very public platform and built up a channel that is now a career. He's basically taken a really dark, horrible period of time in his life and turned it around into something that is honorable. So I don't believe that to do something so foolish and foolhardy as to order pizza to a crime scene, he would have literally nothing to gain. There would be nothing to gain from that. Right? Okay. Agreed, Crime Time. Yeah, totally. His coverage, JLR's coverage of the southern border, when we were having so many people that were coming across the border, his coverage, without question, was the best in the nation. It was the best in the nation. Even the whole ABC, Big Shots, and CBS, they didn't get close to what he did. And that kind of work is not easy either. Sleeping in your car for 7 nights in a row, getting 2-3 hours of sleep at night, being confronted by literally people that are jumping the border and running through the desert to escape ICE. No, it was dangerous. It was hard. And that was really when I really started watching him again. And I was like, this guy is doing a great job. So no, I think he's a patsy. I think there's a lot of people that dislike him, and anytime anything happens that's unusual, they say that old JLR did it. I just know he did. So why? What does he get out of it? How does he benefit? Nothing. There's nothing that it if it came out that he did do it, it would actually harm his channel. So I no way do I believe he did it. No way did he do it. I don't even think his mind would work that way. You know what I mean? So no, I think when you really stop and you look at this blood and then you look at how the flowers are stuck in the blood, then you say, well, that is really interesting for the message that it sends, that the guy that's on the front porch, that's not the guy that done the dirty deed. He didn't do the dirty deed. The dirty deed was already done by the time he showed up with his magical white flowers. There is something wrong with the story. There is something wrong with the story. I also don't believe that the figure is 5'9". I think that's part of the lie. I think it's bullshit. I think I would like to see gray hues, and you guys know there's zero love lost between me and Gray Hughes. He hates me actually, but he hates a lot of people, so it's okay. I'm in good company, if you will. But I sure would like to see him use his computer stuff and let him figure out how tall this, masked intruder with very tiny feet is. Have you looked at the feet of that man? Like, really looked at him? You really think that's a 5'9" man? I do not. I do not think it is. That is a very tall person with some really teeny tiny feet. I know, wake up and smell the coffee. Not going to argue with you. So I know, Callie, there's a lot of people that sort of go, don't summon the devil, right? Okay, I shouldn't have uttered his name. So, but yeah, I do wish that he would, with his own computer skills, I wish he would look and verify this whole 5'9" story. I just don't believe it. I don't. I think it's going to come in at a whopping 5'4" or 5'5" is what I think. Look at the feet. You see those tiles? Look at the size of the feet next to the length of the tiles. Say his name 2 more times and he'll appear. Well, do I have to click my heels together? We shouldn't say that. He could be lurking like a spider, right? Waiting for somebody to say his name. Look, he did do a good job with the bridge guy height, but I don't, the guy that they ended up putting in jail for it, had a trial and everything. The guy's guilty. He's a bit shorter than what, Gray had estimated, but he was a damn sight closer than what the cops had said the height was. You know what I mean? So, yeah, he's an equal opportunity hater for sure. Crime Time. Yeah. But you have to just laugh, right? If you accept Gray for who he is, like you just accept him. You don't try to change him. You don't try to say, well, only if he would act this way or that way, then he'd be okay. You just accept him. Then it's kind of humor. It's kind of amusing. His antics are kind of amusing. The money thing that he does is really kind of funny, right? It's not funny for his subs. I wouldn't think it was funny if I was giving thousands of dollars a month to him. But the way he's like, well, I'm not even gonna talk tonight. I'm not even gonna do my show because we hadn't gotten one single super chat. I'm just not gonna do it. It's like, Gray, you need to have just a little bit of shame, okay? Just a little bit. Hold back that impulse that you're having right now. Okay. But it's annoying, Daisy. I know. Laugh, laugh about it. Laugh it off. Okay. Um, is that all I wanted to really talk about? Well, so there's Tommaso's friend, right, who started the band. He's back getting a little bit of he's getting a little bit of attention. I hesitate. Look, this sheriff, which is what this video is about, is that silly sheriff. The sheriff, I think, is a purveyor of misinformation. What do you think, Martin? Do you think the sheriff has intentionally put out misinformation? He's a man child. I thank you. Damn right, Danielle. Yeah. I guess Martin might have left. So I'm kind of thinking the sheriff hasn't really been truthful. I'm not sure that he's really been honest in the things he said. And so this new information about how someone paid for information, meaning someone paid another person who was close to Nancy to give this criminal the information they needed. Which then automatically means there was a conspiracy. So conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to kidnap an elderly woman, right? Is this just more of his BS? No, I totally agree, Martin. This is the investigation itself is the story, isn't it? How can you tell he always says it two ways? I know it. He says someone paid for information to do this. And I know why Nancy was targeted. I know why. I just didn't want to tell y'all that I know, but I do know. And then he says, we don't have any suspects. We don't have any idea why she was targeted. Yeah, he's just lying. He's totally lying. And your question is to yourself is why? What is this little guy? What does he have to gain from misleading everyone, including apparently his very own deputies? What does he have to gain? Well, my mind keeps going back to the reality TV show. Is he keeping all this information quiet because they're going to use it on an episode of this true crime show? And if that's the case, I honestly hope that Savannah Guthrie sues his ass into oblivion. Because the primary goal should be find this missing woman, not how am I going to get famous. So it's pretty horrible. Sketty Nona says he went off on a rant about your name. What? The first time I went on his channel, and then the chat minions jumped in and taunted me. That is so dumb, Sketty. No, he's so dumb, and his subs are dumb if they did that. That's just silly. I'm so sorry they did that to you. He just had no idea what a nice person you are. Wow, I can't believe they did that. Google blood spatter patterns. Okay, hold on just a minute. Blood. Oh, shoot. Martin, my damn computer did that thing again. It got hot, so it won't let me do anything right now. I'm going to have to turn it off and cool it off and turn it back on. Good. I'm glad you don't care. You want to know why? Because you are a 10 times better person than he is, and you're a 25 times better person than those silly subs. You have nothing to worry about. Who cares what they think? She is a sweetheart. We've all known each other. I don't even know how long. Years. No, don't worry Don't worry about them. They put him in jail, for goodness sake. He does this stupid ass little game, money. It's all about money, 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 which is, I guess you could say that he's kind of the male version of Brittany J, kind of, where it's just constant. Like when you're trying to listen to the stream, give me money, give me super chats. Here's how much money we got. Here's how much money I gave away. This is what our money paid for, but I need more money. You're not meeting the money goals. Give me more money. I'm not going to tell my story till I have the money. It is constant. But again, you just have to laugh. You just have to laugh. That's all you can do. All right. So I'm with Martin on this. This investigation is the story. This investigation, this sheriff, the reality TV show, his two little special yes man deputies. This is the story. These blood drops where the greenery is on top of the blood. This is the story. The pizza delivery, the unknown pizza, so that now any evidence that comes from this area is inadmissible in court during a trial. This is the story. This is the story. Find out why they didn't secure the crime scene. Find out why someone would knock an old lady over the head, causing all these blood drops, then try to trick the camera. That camera already had him. That camera could tell us who it was that was bleeding and why. And yet they go in after the fact, after the blood, and do the little flower ritual. This is the story. It needs more attention from the big channels. The detectives, the talking heads that go on Megyn Kelly and other shows, they need to be commenting on this. This is the story. I'm just so fatigued with all the manipulation and manufacturing. Oh yeah, me too. To the point that I almost can't watch some of these trials now. I still watch Peter Tragos whenever his show's on. I go ahead and I watch that. He does do a pretty good job of trying to do both sides, right? He doesn't really take a most obvious position, I don't think. Sometimes he does, but like we all form opinions, right? But the thing, this not locking down the crime scene, but you go back to Annie Guthrie's house 4 times. You're not going to Nancy Guthrie's house. You're not locking down Nancy Guthrie's house. You're not in the garage in the middle of the night in Nancy Guthrie's house. You're over at Annie's house, which I think was the FBI, right? I mean, Nanos didn't even really act like he even knew much about that. He was like, yeah, I think they were there. There's a story brewing here, I think. Hey, girly, how are you? Another possible motive for pizza delivery was to run out the YouTube posse because they couldn't stage it how they really wanted it. They always use a bad YouTuber. Oh, yeah, YouTubers did everything wrong. That's exactly right. And in truth, what they do, they just stood there and had their cameras rolling. Maybe they were hoping YouTubers and media would follow them to Annie's away from Nancy's. I don't know. The whole thing, from the blood drops, the flowers dropped into the blood drops, the YouTube pizza so that they get it on camera that the scene was defiled and can't be used as evidence. And yet we've heard nothing about the open back door, right? We've heard nothing about where the blood leads to. So this is what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that this old lady on blood thinners starts bleeding like a stuck hog on the front porch and bleeds, dropping perfect, pristine little drops about 10 feet off of the porch. But then she magically quits bleeding, guys. She just magically quits bleeding. Didn't happen. I don't know what did happen, but I know that didn't happen. Know who else is on 60 Days In? The sheriff in Charlie Kirk's case. Sheriff Mike Smith, cowboy hat dude. Crushing, so funny. Yeah, that's another weird story, isn't it? I mean, they even had hearings about whether they should be handling the investigation or the trial. Weird things. And then you've got the same defense attorneys that were covering the Corey Richards defense. They're over here on this huge, assassination case. But when they were on the Corey Richards case, everybody acted like they were the most incompetent people that had ever graced a courtroom. But you'd put them on a potential death penalty case? What? Psyops everywhere, Krusha, everywhere. I'm a believer. You have convinced me. I'm a believer. I just want you to know, my friend. So don't come for me. You know damn well someone's going to come for you, Krusha. This is YouTube. Hey, Requiem. What if Nanos needed campaign support and Nancy was not going to donate to his next campaign? What if? Sounds plausible. The reality is high net worth individuals, big money, people need money. All people, we all need it. This economy has been very painful for, I guess, all of us. There's a lot of reasons that we need money or could use money. Absolutely true. But what you don't have a lot of opportunity, do you? There's some very inconvenient realities here. Opportunity is real. Now this silly little sheriff is putting out a story that you've got someone who was close to Nancy sold her information to a kidnapper. Why did you have to do that, Sheriff Nanos? Because of the opportunity problem? Because people really started putting pressure on you, saying, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. Nobody's just going to wander upon this old lady's house. But you wouldn't have even known the house was there. So someone knew where she was and knew that there were people with a lot of money that would be willing to pay for her. If you even believe that story, I don't. I'm skeptical of the ransom notes. Again, what kind of kidnapper kidnaps their $6 million payday, but then you wait 3 days to make your request for your money, and as you send it to newsrooms, no less, you say, don't contact the police. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, on national television, you can see all of the news people, the YouTubers, the police officers crawling through that area like a bunch of ants. Who does that? What kind of kidnapper pulls off the perfect kidnapping, waits until the place is crawling with cops, and says, don't contact the cops? Who does that? Who does that? Someone who's trying to divert law enforcement to look the other way. No, don't look over here. I didn't have anything to do with it, right? And if you just happen to be a Democrat sheriff and you just happen to have a donor who basically single handedly funded your very expensive campaign, you might be willing to do a lot of things not to lose that money. This is the story. I'm telling y'all, this is the mystery. This stuff related to the front yard, the weird request for ransom. This is the story. This makes no sense. Not locking down the crime scene makes no sense. Keep fighting with the FBI to the point that you wouldn't even let them have a little office in the sheriff's department. You are obstructing your own investigation. Why? 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 Yeah, but see, Martin, you're very logical, Martin. You're very sensible. You're a very sensible man, right? But really, what would a conspiracy theorist say, Martin? With all of the facts, like we just looked at, the reality of that front yard, would you do sort of feel like this was a cover up? Or I do. I feel like it's a cover up. I'm of the opinion now that if TMZ is involved, it's a psyop. No, I have not want. Now, look, I'm not a fan of TMZ. I think they've done some shady stuff in the past. Okay, I'll own that. But in this particular situation, no, I never got the feeling that they were doing a psyop or that they were creating ruse. I legitimately believe that they received what was called a ransom note. Right? I do think they did, but it doesn't match the facts of the setting. The day that the ransom notes were received or sent out, the cops were already there, and they weren't there surreptitiously. They were there in plain view. The CBS, ABC, they all had video of them that was being aired on the nightly news. So it doesn't, who are you? What kind of a kidnapper are you to wait, what, 48, 60 something hours, then you send your ransom note and say, oh yeah, and don't involve the police when it's all over TV? No, I don't believe that. No. How does that fall in, Martin? How does that fall into shoddy police work? The ransom note, the timeline of the request, and the fact that police were already out there. I get the feeling she knew the person she left with and was not hurt at that point. Yeah, I get that feeling too, Martin. Yeah. Yeah, she didn't get hurt in her bed. That's right. Yep. There may have been blood in her bed. There may have been blood sprinkled on the carpet, but I don't think that's where the blow occurred, right? Krusha says, targeted and orchestrated to create likability or distraction from something else. More than one thing can be true. The elites are above the law, y'all. They've proven it over and over again. Just watch Congress. I'm over it. Nothing's ever going to happen to these the biggest criminals. The other avenue, I guess, of curiosity in this story, obviously, is the connection to the Epstein survivors. The fact that Savannah Guthrie interviewed these Epstein survivors. She herself interviewed them, right? You also have her husband, who was in the Clinton White House, not working for the White House, but actually had an office in the White House. And a lot of his work was helping to control what Hillary lovingly called the bimbo eruptions. The young girls that would come out and say, "Hey, Bill did this to me. How are you going to help me?" Okay. So all of this occurs at it like right before Hillary and Bill are going in front of Congress to be questioned about the Epstein survivors or what they knew about Epstein hurting people, hurting young girls. Is that uncomfortable? Yeah. What was this a message? Was this a caution to Savannah's husband? It, who knows, right? I mean, things with the Clintons have been very odd. I'm not saying it's true, all these murders and stuff. I don't know anything about. I don't know. I don't know. But, I was from North Louisiana. Arkansas is right there. Drove past his home in Hope, Arkansas. I don't know, hundreds of times. Yeah, there was a lot happening in Little Rock when Bill Clinton was governor. There was a lot going on. I was young and I was listening to my mama and papa talk about Arkansas politics and how crazy basically it was. So I don't know. I don't know if it's true, but it is very strange that the only country that's really done anything about this nightmare operation that Epstein had going on is England. They're the only ones done anything. US has done nothing. We know who the girls were. Of course, now they're women, adults, but they weren't when it happened. They're admitting that it happened. They're naming their aggressor, their rapist. They're telling who was there. They have documents. They have evidence. Why hasn't there been one single prosecution? Why? Ask Kresha. Kresha knows the answer to that. Kresha knows the answer to that. Was there blood on the doormat? If not, why? There should be. There should be. And I don't see any blood on the doormat. It looks to happen right in front of the camera.
What the cameras cover.
See, there's the spray right there. There's another, yeah, look, there's another flower in the blood right there. Don't see any blood on top of the greenery.
And what they missed.
That in itself is strange, isn't it, Martin? The pattern, the way it looks. All the blood is right here. Well, I mean, it trails out. Don't get me wrong. It trails out. But it's all here. Why would that be? About a year ago, I came across the frazzle. Ooh, did you really? Well, I'm very sorry that you witnessed it. It rears, it emerges occasionally, right? And there are people, really honest, dependable people that have said, I actually saw it. So there's a lot of people say, well, I'm not going to believe it unless I see it. But there's a lot of people like you, Kresha, that have zero reason to lie. So I'm just really, really sorry that you were exposed to it, because they're definitely doing those things. There's Hollywood's doing them. It's you look at what P. Diddy was up to. It's some bad people in this world. The feds would have known at a glance if this blood was staged. Yeah, Martin, and that's what I was saying. What's the utility of leaving the crime scene open, inviting the pizza delivery guy to walk up onto the porch? You've got Brian Enton himself, who's actually walking up there taking video, knocking on the door. Was it intentional? Was it engineered so that it would make the blood evidence inadmissible in a court of law? Stephanie, I used to watch Stephanie Harlow all the time, and I just somehow fell out doing it. I need to go back over there and watch if she's covering the Epstein files. That's very interesting. Thank you for telling me, Doris. I think there's a difference between people trying to convince you it's real and those who are not. Yeah, I mean, even if people believe it's real, is anything going to happen? Clearly not. Clearly not. The rules for thee, right? And this only happens in a cover-up. My point exactly, Martin. If this were a serious investigation, if the FBI had been on this case, there's absolutely zero chance that this property would have been exposed like Sheriff Nanos left it exposed. They would have been. We saw, let me say this, in the Idaho 4 case, the murder of the 4 college kids, you saw investigators all the way up the hill. Remember that? They were all the way up the hill underneath one of the trees, and they were all squatted down, and they were looking at a piece of ground. You know what they were doing, right? They were looking for blood, for traces of blood. They were looking for a pathway that would say, okay, this guy had to have been covered in blood. How did he get out of the house? There's got to be blood marks along his path of egress, right? Wouldn't you do that in this case when you've got blood flowing so freely, like huge drops that are not disc-shaped at all? Wouldn't you be out there in the dirt looking for drops of blood? No, we didn't see that. Didn't see that at all. Should have been taped off. There should have been cops. But you know what? You know what did happen? After the video of the pizza delivery person, the video of people going up and knocking on the door, walking right over these blood drops. After that, then Sheriff Nanos posted a guard out there. Can you believe that? Can you believe it? Horrible. Horrible. Like in our case, we had the whole FBI forensics lab on wheels hanging out when Tylee and JJ were unearthed. I don't know why they were there. I mean, they had some reason to. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, that's true, Skitty Nana. Okay. So this video was really just sort of the focus is Sheriff Nanos, because I think that is a really important story. I wish there would be more attention put on him, especially now that there is a person who is kind of untouchable, who has launched an official campaign to have Sheriff Nanos recalled, fired, if you will. And that really brings home just how incompetent Nanos has been. And a review of what we know he mishandled, which leaves a big, huge question mark, which is, well, these are the things we know. There's flowers laying on top of the blood, not blood on the flowers. So the video of the guy at the front door is not important. Or, well, not important in the way of he's the one that abducted Nancy. It doesn't match. It doesn't matter that he was there or she was there, putting the flowers up in front of the camera, removing the camera. It doesn't matter. The blood is already there. It's Nancy's blood, which means something happened to Nancy before creepy dude in the ski cap went up on the porch. So I don't know how you figure out what this means, but what I think it means is it's all a big cover up. That's what I think. Congratulations to you, your husband, daughter, and son-in-law for the 2 new babies. I'm praying for all of you. Thank you so much, Kresha. They are so cute. So my daughter's doing fine. She's getting very strong and healing well, and everything's going to be great. It's just going to be a long haul in the hospital. So about 30 days. So push mower, cutting grass. Sorry, I've been so focused on driving my points, not intentional. I just got cut off and hang out with you. Well, you should not just cut it off. You're doing great. I appreciate your input. And I absolutely agree with you on, these untouchables do some mighty creepy things. And this particular case does touch on very powerful people. It just does. And again, that's another curious reality that a lot of people want to turn their nose up and say, oh my God, you're speculating. Okay, well, what else do you want to do at this point? You want to keep your faith in Sheriff Nanos, a guy that left this crime scene wide open, when we can clearly see that the whole charade of waving the plant around in front of the camera happened after Nancy spilled her blood, period. So you can take your judgment and keep on going along the way, because I'm smart enough to know the blood should have been on top of the greenery, not the greenery on top of the blood. So go work that out, figure it out, and then you can come back and tell me, okay, I'm not mad at you anymore, Jules. Okay. All right. Okay. So that was really, Martin says it would be interesting to know what was done by the book from the first alert in the case. What was done that was as it should have been, and who did it, right? Who was actually the ones that were following the book, and who was it that basically just ignored it, didn't pay any attention to what their training was. Seems like a reactive investigation. The public discovers information and then they react, which is characteristic of a cover-up, Doris. Like this fool. I think this is the dumbest statement so far made by a sheriff who's made countless dumb statements. His statement, someone sold the information about Nancy. That is what you're talking about, Doris. It's reactive. People are saying, wait a minute. Opportunity. There are very few people that would have had opportunity. There are very few people who wouldn't have even known that an old lady lived in that house. Very few. Now we find out that you got people in Colorado who were Googling Nancy Guthrie's address months ago. And so what does sheriff do? He comes up with a story to account it. Oh, yeah, it wasn't anyone they knew. It wasn't anyone that Nancy knew. No. Someone that Nancy knows sold the information to the evil kidnapper. That's how it happened. This sheriff, in my opinion, is dirty like a big old 350-pound hog. Dirty, dirty, dirty. I believe it in my heart. There's a story here. There's a story here. And I, for one, hope that the politician who is pursuing this recall, I hope the FBI will react and investigate Sheriff Nanos. There's a story, right? And one of the places to start was, did they follow procedure? We know at least one thing they did that wasn't according to the book. They didn't get the search aircraft out. They didn't get the search aircraft out. That could have been invaluable. Nobody has talked about the differences on that Sunday. Nancy watches live church in New York on Eastern Time. She should have been expected at her friend's house at about 8:30 or 9. There you go. Another curious reality. Elizabeth, if you do a video talking about the time frame problems for that day, that morning, if you do a video about that, you will be inundated by many people that attack you and say, you're so evil to speculate. No, I'm not speculating. I understand Greenwich time, right? I understand how a clock works, but they don't want to hear it. The only thing they want to accept as fact is what's coming out of Lord Fauntleroy's mouth. So if the good sheriff says it, then they say, oh, no, it's true. They definitely sold her information. If the sheriff says it, it's gospel. And I'm going, are you paying attention to the investigation? Because this sheriff single-handedly has destroyed any hope of getting a conviction ever. Never mind finding the guy. You got to find him, and then you've got to get a conviction. With what he's done with making this very valuable evidence inadmissible, a flower that we clearly see on the camera being on top of the blood, stuck in the blood, do you know what that evidence would do? It would prove a conspiracy. It would prove that it was intentionally messed up, that it was bullshit. It's a contrived environment. Yeah. Thank you, Elizabeth. You're 100% right about the time problem. Yep. The live service on the Eastern Coast changed everything from Arizona time frame. Yep. I think it's a cover up. Martin didn't say he thinks it's a cover up, but he said some of these things that happened is what you see with the cover up, because he's very logical and he's very rational. That area is a disaster waiting to happen. Not good internet, no outdoor lighting, houses spaced far apart, rich, and a rotten, dirty sheriff. Rotten, low down, dirty sheriff. The polygraph test cleared Annie and Tommaso, but that was controlled too. I'm just figuring out the obvious. Yeah, I mean, that's why it's called a curious reality. The time frame is factual. Time grime, that sounds like a smart city. Bill Gates advertisement. This happens a lot in many cases. This is the conclusion I've begun to draw in the last week as well. Congratulations on the twins. Hey, Gooch. I also have twin grandchildren. Aw. So did your grandchildren have to spend time in the NICU? They're saying it's about 30 days is what the neonatal specialist thinks. Barry passed the polygraph twice. Well, you know what we should do? We should have a discussion about psychopaths and polygraph tests. Guess what, people? Psychopaths don't have any trouble with polygraph. They don't get nervous. They don't mind lying. Barry was also a big donator to somebody's campaign, don't you think? Hell yes. Not yes, but hell yes. Barry had a lot of friends in high places, right? He was getting a lot of lucrative government contracts. And why? Why would anybody trust this joker with those types of contracts? And yet, he got them. I think Barry had friends in influential illegal places, in my opinion. Ted Bundy passed. There you go. Point made. Yeah, I think Barry's involvement with, well, I don't mean involvement like he was overtly active, but I think his involvement with some of that, some of the militia stuff, I thought that was strange. The hunting group can make strange bedfellows. I wouldn't disagree with that either. Yeah, that's true. But the militia just, you got to have a certain mindset, right, with the whole militia thing. And not all of the prepper militia stuff is like nutty, crazy over the top. But just because there's some regular people that are just trying to make sure that they have a safe place to go if all hell breaks loose, there are some people that are sort of living a delusional state, that they sort of envision themselves in an action movie, and that is dangerous. Greenwich Village Time has been renamed Universal Standard Time. The town of Greenwich, England is on the longitudinal line. Look at Zelda coming in here hot with the info, the 411. Thank you, Zelda. Congratulations on the babies. Glad to hear everyone is doing well. My best had twins who were born early, spent 30 days. They're now bubbly 7-year-olds. Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. Yep. It's a little scary, right? It's a little nerve-wracking. Oh, and you just know, Requiem, Sheriff Nano and Barry, 2 peas in a pod. All of that overblown macho bullshit, right? Yeah. No, they would be buddies. I believe that. One of each, Crime Time. Got one of each. No, I don't think he was in the militia. But do you remember Suzanne made several references to Barry's creepy friends or shady friends. I don't remember now her exact words, but he was really friendly with those people. And part of that was probably the hunting, right? You also have the judge. Look, the judge was up to no good too. There's a video where the judge has called the police, and he's saying that someone is stalking him and someone is stalking his house, and that the YouTube people for Barry Morphew, that they're dangerous people, and the defense attorney located them, and it was jaw-droppingly shocking that a judge was telling such blatant lies. Like when you were there and you listened and you saw it unfold, and then you see this judge basically making a report that is nothing but lies, it's really incredible, right? And I thought, now why is this silly judge saying these things that are categorically false? It just didn't happen like he's saying that happened. Even name names, and you know what I'm talking about. Martin, and I'm not going to say any more about that, but yeah, it gives you the feeling that maybe this judge really, really liked Barry. Barry was his bestie. I don't know. I mean, they lived across the road from each other, or at least hunted across the road from each other. It's a little more than across the road, but not much. I mean, we're only talking about what, 2 miles down the road? So that's kind of across the road if you're from the country. Oh, those old TikTokers, they're at it too, right, Crush? Beware of the lethal TikTokers. I don't know. The world is turned upside down. It's weird. The TikTokers, the YouTubers, they've all been terribly demonized at the same time that we watch mainstream media and we know they're lying to us. I'm gonna take my chances with social media. I'm gonna trust that those podcasters have a stake in telling the truth, that their channel will only be as successful as their truth. And it seems like the news is just worried about, their political messaging. And I've grown weary of that nonsense. Very, very tired. I'm probably never going to vote again, ever. I'm not ever going to vote again. I hate them all. I really do. Hate's a very strong word, but you know what I mean. So 3 miles. I thought it was just a little over 2 miles. Like I drove it. I couldn't believe it. Well, okay, no, maybe it would be, I guess maybe it could be 3 miles. So if you go from where you exit out of that subdivision that the Morphews lived in, and then you go down the road, it was like maybe 2 miles and 2/10 of a mile. And then you turn right. Maybe that was another mile up the road. Maybe it was 3. I was thinking about right across the highway, right? It was about 2 miles down where you made your turns. Yeah. Mainstream media knows that they're crap, so they've been shutting down doing acquisitions and coming to YouTube. Did you know YouTube got the Grammys? How crazy is that? Why in the hell would the YouTubes get the Grammy? Because nobody is watching mainstream TV anymore. Everybody is jaded. They know they've been lied to and they don't care anymore. No, crime time grime. Barry Morphew is simply a murderer who a judge has allowed to get out of jail, and he gets to live in the local little town where they're holding his trial. He is not in jail. He is not. Beats anything I've ever seen. I have never seen anything so crazy. There's a guy in Houston, a millionaire, a man, and he wrote he's some kind of computer guy, right? Anyway, so he started a couple of businesses. He made really good on his invention, and so he's an actual millionaire. I think he's worth something like $8 million. Had nice offices up in one of the downtown high rises. Had a $2 million house in the Heights, highly desirable area of downtown Houston. And his wife, who had a PhD in physical therapy, who worked for one of the biggest hospital systems in Texas, who was very well respected. She was active in an awful lot of the social clubs and stuff. She just woke up dead one morning. She woke up dead, and her husband called and said, "Hey, y'all better get over here. My wife killed herself. She committed suicide. She overdosed. You need to come get her." Okay. Now, she was pregnant, like Shanann, and there are two younger children. One's a toddler, the other one's, I think, about 4 years old. And cops got over there, collected her body, and thank goodness we have a real sheriff in the area. And so they said, this seems like a really strange set of circumstances. Maybe we better do a real investigation. And so they locked down the house and the offices of the woman and the husband. They conducted a real investigation, and about 3 days after, no, I'm sorry, 7 days after they collected her, they got preliminary results back from the autopsy, where not only had she consumed so much fentanyl that it would have had to have been injected into her body, but you know what happens when you overdose with opiates? Your hyoid bone gets broken, right? Isn't that what happens when people take opiates? You break the bones that are in your throat. So she had the broken bone in her throat, and massive dose of opiate. And they said, we're going to arrest you now. So they go and they arrest the very dashingly handsome multi-millionaire husband. They throw his ass in jail, and they say, there is simply no way that your wife did this to herself. That is physically impossible. And here we go right here. This is the case. Lee Mongerson Gilly. And don't you know, within 3 days, this man was out of jail on bond, and he then turned around and hired the most famous defense attorney in the state of Texas, and maybe even in the United States. So is it fair? No, it's not fair. And if you're a woman and you marry one of these clowns, all can do is just pray that there's not a psychopath lurking behind his handsome face, because they don't seem to get held in jail. They seem to get out. I don't know if it's the money that gets them out. I don't know if it's because they're handsome. I don't know if it's because judges say, "Oh, this handsome millionaire, super smart guy, he's a business owner. There's no way he killed his wife. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and give him a bond that he can pay." The guy's worth like $7 million. His bond was $1 million. So he had more than enough money to post cash bond and get the hell out of Dodge if he wanted to. If he wanted to take off and go live in Vietnam the rest of his life, or Dubai, he'd have no trouble at all. So he himself is out walking around. He threatened the mom and dad of the girl, Krista. They gave custody of the two babies. They gave custody to her mom and dad, who live out in the woodlands. They live within about 35 minutes of the Heights where he lives, right? And he said he's going to go get them. He's going to go get his kids. He's going to kill them. He not kill the kids, but kill the parent, the in-laws. You think they put him back in jail? No. He's still out. He's still out. So crush it. Rules for thee, not for me. If these people have some special role that the elite like or want or need, they get away with literally murder. they get away with it. So my dad's mom was a Gilly, related to Mickey Gilly. All the girls all get prettier at closing time. Yeah, I hung out at Gilly's a lot, like not when I was really young, but like in my late 20s, I think. We went every weekend dancing. My mom used to do the Christmas light tour through the neighborhood where Mickey was living. Yeah, Mickey had a mansion. Texas freaks me out more and more every day. That armed dude in tactical gear walking into an elementary just sent on his way. He was released, Cinnamon. Did you see the judge that released him? Yeah. Yeah. And what will they say if the son of a bitch walks into a school and shoots it up next week? Oh, you can't blame the judge. Don't blame the judge. Hell, I will blame the judge. Sure will. I might be related to Chet Baker paternally. My claim to fame, for literal fame, is that Glenn Campbell is my cousin. I guess it would be third cousin, something like that. They're building tons of mosques. Yeah, but the government has now, they've sort of outlawed Islam. They've outlawed Sharia, and they're trying to pull it in, rein it in. I don't know. The world has gone crazy. It's not the world that I grew up in little old, Louisiana. My papa used to listen to a lot of Glenn Campbell songs. Yep. He's good. Me too, Cinnamon. I don't know what needs to be done, to make these judges focus on reality. I don't know. Did you see, so the guy that did it, the guy that they released, did you see there were pictures on, I think, I don't remember if it was Facebook or Twitter. There were photographs of him from like 10 years ago, right? And he didn't even look like the same guy. He looked really healthy. He had big muscles. He just looked normal. He just looked healthy. He just looks like somebody that you would have trusted. That if your car had broke down on the side of the road and he stopped to help you, you'd have gotten in the car with him to go up to the gas station. He just looked like a regular, normal dude. And then you fast forward like 7 to 10 years, and now he looks like that. He was radicalized. You can see the changes that go along with that. Elizabeth Spark said, we have a legal system, not a justice system. I like that, Doris. Yeah. Ted Bundy was Mr. Personality. Yep. Handsome guy, very personable, charismatic. Yep. Now, creepy dude from Idaho. Well, I guess he was technically from Pennsylvania. He was not charismatic. Just about everybody that met him thought he was a weirdo. But not Ted Bundy. They liked the dude. Yep, it's weird. Weird. Okay. I am going to call it a night. I am going to sleep tonight. We have been on a wild roller coaster, as you can imagine. And things are now starting to feel safer, and that is great. And so it's been so long since I came and we all talked, and I sure do appreciate everybody being here. Cresha, Martin, and Requiem, and Sketty Nona, and Cinnamon Hot. Everybody. It's really, really nice to see everybody and kind of get some distraction. And I'll when my daughter tells me I can, I'll put up a couple of pictures and you can see the babies, but they're mighty cute. They're mighty cute. Obama made a statement that the USA is not a Christian nation. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, well, that's curious, Obama. Why does it say one nation under God? I don't know. It doesn't say under Allah. I don't know. Okay. I'm glad you did too, Callie. Thank you so much for being here. And Doris, you too. Thank you. And all of you guys that are lurking in the shadows, thank you so much for being here. I hope you'll hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, all the YouTube-y things, right? That is very sweet of you, Crusha. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Very nice of you. All right. I think I'm going to call it a night. Crusha, are you going live tonight? Tell them they don't have to name the kids after me. But Crescia is a beautiful, beautiful name. And I really like the whole under Crescia. I think that's cute. But I love Jolene Lunzer. I am so glad that we here in the true crime community found Jolene, or Jolene found us, or however it all happened. I'm grateful for that. She is very funny. I love her imitations of a certain person, and yeah, she will definitely make you smile. But Crescia will make you think. So if you have not subscribed to Difficult Research, if you have not gone to her channel and hit the little thumbs up and join the channel, you are missing out on some very interesting information. And her information is actually true, even though it's sort of shocking when you hear it and you're like, I don't know if I believe that. Can that be true? And then you follow up and go find it and you're like, holy hell, that was true. And it's actually shocking. For example, Glenn Beck was instrumental in the whole formation of Crime Con. You hear that, Trisha? Do you hear that, Trisha? She was right. You were wrong. I'm sorry. You should make that announcement on your channel, Trisha. Okay. Crusher was right. Glenn Beck was absolutely involved in CrimeCon as a brainchild. Yep, absolutely. It's so interesting. So interesting. Yep. Weird bedfellows, right, Kresha? Like weird connections. Like Lauren Matthias's brother being such good friends with who? I don't know how you make this stuff up. I don't know how it is. We're living in a really weird world. I know that. And Kresha, her channel, Difficult Research, they have definitely unveiled some of these WTF moments in true crime. So, all right. Also, Martin, I know you think that I've completely forgotten about what we were going to do. I have not. You have my word. I have not. But things just ricocheted out of control. And literally, this moment is the first time, I don't even know since when, that it kind of all came back together. So, still looking at probably about 2 weeks of probably not doing anything with that information, but it is going to get done. I swear. I did work on some of it. But I was trying to get all my work caught up so that I could come here on the 24th, and the babies were supposed to be born on the 6th of April. And I was working double patients, trying to get everything caught up so that when I came here, I would only have like a couple of people a day, and that would free me up to help my daughter and everything. And then boom, it just, no. Baby said, no, no, you don't get to plan it. You don't get to control this, Granny. So Granny took a hard lesson from those little boogers. Las Vegas Crime Con. I'm not going. I don't think it should be, how do I say this? It's too carnival-esque. They've turned CrimeCon into a carnival. It's not good. It should be reverent, and it should be about investigation methods. There should be an educational aspect to it, in my opinion. I don't like the superstar bullshit. I don't like taking all these victims and putting them in a spotlight. No victim, I don't care who they are. No victim wants to get up on a stage and be worshiped by a bunch of crime crazy nuts. They don't. They miss their loved one. They're traumatized by the crimes that happened. It's weird. I can't even put it into words accurately, but you guys probably know what I'm talking about. I have lots of stuff for you. Look, it's okay, Martin. I have a whole pack of socks right here, big fuzzy ones that I haven't opened yet because I know it's coming to Colorado and it was going to be cold. So blow my socks off. I'm ready. I'm prepared. I can deal with it. I can. All right. I have no desire to be involved with CrimeCon. I'm going to stay with you, Crime Time Grime. Ain't happening. Victims usually pay for their own room and board when they go, which is just crazy, right? Why would you do that? Why would you let CrimeCon make all this money? You come and speak. You're the attraction, and they're not going to pay for your room? Gosh, weird. You would have to stay out of the casino when Lauren wanted to go. Hey, look, here's some reality, okay? I'm not a violent type of girl. Never have been, not a violent kind of girl. But I do sort of like to meddle, right? I do kind of like to do funny things. Not mean, not scary, not aggressive, but I would want to, I would probably find it irresistible not to go up to Lauren and ask her how she got her eyebrows to do that McDonald's thing, and that I would like to know how to make mine do that. I see, it wouldn't be mean, right? It wouldn't be like aggressive, but it might make her a little irritated, something like that. So, yeah. Thank you, Cinnamon. Yeah, we're very excited. Okay, well, I'm done. I know I said that earlier, but I'm also in one of those, how when you get super sleepy, how your eyes are itchy and you just kind of feel kind of numb. I'm kind of like that. So it is time for me to log off here. I thanked everybody. You guys are great. It was so good to see all of you and to have this little conversation about one of my best hobbies. Again, please hit the thumbs up. Please hit the subscribe button if you wish. And they're fun, John Smith. Those are fun eyebrows. I don't care who you are. They're fun, okay? You'll see my mom's post on X about Lauren. Your mom is awesome. Yeah. Y'all are awesome. You come from good people, Krisha. All right. See you guys later. And yeah, pass the message around. The story at this point, well, I kind of think the story is actually Sheriff Nanos. That there's a story there. Something is brewing there. It's not right.
I dream going after the man. Just gravel turning into black.